My guy's here, you know.
Yeah.
Just reached in that. You know what? I understand that this is not an interview, but I just want to just find out how you are. And we can have a chin wagon, whatever. But you know what I was thinking today? I was actually thinking today. I feel like we are now getting. How do I say this? We're almost moving past the Twin B era, and we're going into Alec Boateng as the business man, the dude at the record label who's actually doing a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
did I say it wrong?
Boateng. Ghanaians will be vexed.
Sorry. But no, the reason why I say that is because obviously that has been a massive part of the, the music, the stuff, you know what I mean? But the record label stuff now seems to be what everybody talks about or associates you with more so today. So is what I'm saying making sense a bit? Yeah,
it's funny you say that though, because I started at 1Xtra the same month I got my first A&R job, but I think what it was, I guess, for me, being a DJ, I always wanted to kind of make sure that I had no attachments to anything and make sure that how I was perceived on that sense, especially as a presenter, was pure.
Yeah.
And it wasn't attached to any artist and that. So I very much kept what I did on that kind of industry quote unquote side quiet, and it was just something that was I saw as my 9 to 5 in a sense, and I was lucky and blessed that it was a job and became a job or whatnot. But in a weird way, then it's the DJ thing was and the presenter thing was, it's all me,
of course,
all one side of it, but the kind of 9 to 5 A&R working with artists tip was a job, if that made any sense. It was more like a job. It wasn't something I spoke about, and I felt I kind of wanted to make sure it was. And to me, in all honesty, I think it's not a job that it doesn't always need and deserve a profile. If that makes any sense. I feel like it's not the type of thing that and it's weird because it's become that more and more, because I guess a lot more people are having an understanding of what goes on behind the scenes.
No doubt.
An artist is someone who has chosen to be out there, and not even all the time, their talent has swelled so much that
100%.
They deserve to be out there and heard. But don't get me wrong, I over respect and understand the value of A&R in terms of what I do and great management and all the other things that I've done behind the scenes. But essentially, we all provide a service,
of course,
to artists. So to have a profile and to be screaming about it sometimes, when I see people do it, it's a bit uncomfortable, because I'm you exist really essentially off the back of, at the core, someone else's extreme talent. And don't get me wrong, there is a talent and a skill set and a lot that comes with doing the stuff that I do 9 to 5 well. A lot comes with it, but you exist off the back of someone else, so to scream and be it's a bit weird.
It's nuts, isn't it? Do you know what though? It's mad that you even from what you mentioned as a DJ. I think that regardless of whatever happens, see, when you're young and you are a DJ, young and you're a DJ. When you get older and you are a DJ, but you're doing other things, that part of being a DJ, it never really dies within you.
Never.
Other things happen. Other things might happen in life, or you might have other dots that connected off that, which end up doing humongous things for you. But that thing of even just being a DJ or being a music man or doing that side of things always just stays there though. Do you get me?
100%. I mean, for me, in terms of even getting into A&R, or becoming a DJ, looking back in hindsight, I became a DJ because I had a passion for A&R, because I think a big part of A&R is having a passion and a vision for something and then wanting it to be heard by as many people as possible. That's a part of it. And I think that's what a lot of DJs have with them. They love the music they play so much that they want an audience, they want to broadcast it, they want to talk about it on air. And that's kind of what happened in my teens. From being a kid, I was always the one at school that everyone kind of got all the music information from what was coming out. I had all the latest CDs and records somehow.
That was me as well. And I was the original beatboxer on the I was the beatboxer and the little making the noise and the banging on the table and all of that stuff, and trying to get man to MC and do all of that stuff. I was fully involved in all
you see, when you got albums, were you the type of person that would hear an album and try and pick the singles?
Oh yeah. All the time. All the time.
Which are the songs that will sell this album? What are the best songs on it, and what are the most commercial sometimes, or the club record? This is the club record on this album.
Do you know what is mad though?
Do you know what I mean?
I was thinking about this the other day as well. I was thinking, when I was a young buck, I'm surprised that my mum let me listen to certain albums so loud. Like, there were certain albums that I used to listen to, like, back in the day when I think about it. Like, I remember I got Little Kim's album, Hardcore.
Oh my God. The cover alone, bruv, should have got you in trouble.
I know. But I was young. I was mad young.
One leg and the other leg was...
I was listening to that the other day.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm going through a stage where I'm listening to, like, certain old albums, like, from here, from America, whatever, just to see how they've aged.
Yeah.
To see how well they've aged and that. Some have aged awful. Some have aged great.
Name some names. Which ones haven't aged that well?
What hasn't aged that well? I'm trying to think of something here that I feel hasn't aged that well. What, like classic wise as well? I don't know, I might have to come back to you on that. I don't know. There's some stuff that I listened to before that it just didn't feel good. But I'm trying to think of what they were. But yeah. Anyway, irrespective of that, like, yeah. So anyway, I was just listening to some stuff and I was thinking, like, yeah, like, there's certain stuff that I listened to as a young buck or whatever, and even though I was trying to always pick out like what was the first single or even reading the back or whatever it was, I was still thinking I'm kind of surprised that I was even really allowed to listen to that stuff.
Raw, yeah. Hardcore.
But how are you anyway? How's things with you, bro?
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
busy,
man.
A lot going on.
A lot, innit?
A lot going on.
Yeah. A lot going on. Do you know what? Yeah, see, like with us now, obviously we speak a lot now, and like I think our friendship's kind of developed a little bit because we don't even enough time when we link up, we don't even chat about football and emotions and life and all of these things. Yeah, but like before we even talk a little bit about like what's going on at the moment with the music stuff, I just want to just on a life one, bruv. Like how are you? Like, are you happy?
Yeah, I am. To be honest, I'm in a really good space.
Best space yet?
Probably, if I'm honest.
Why? Because
big one for me, word-wise, like in terms of using a word that pulls it all together, is just purpose. Like I guess working in entertainment and in music, and it's a very loud world, and you get up and you get into this process, especially when you just get a bit older and you've been doing it for a while, and then you kind of get to a point where you want to know exactly why you're doing it, because some things are happening. It's a bit of a cycle. And it's a bit like, okay, it needs to have a bit more purpose and a bit more, and that's across everything in life,
Does purpose, does it change? So like, you see, if you're doing something for a few years, well, at the beginning, as you start, you might find a purpose. Then after a while, you sometimes, for some people, get to a point where they're like, get a little bit lost. Like, why am I doing this or whatever? Then you find it again. Sometimes that purpose might be a little bit different to how it was when it first started. Was it kind of like that with you?
A little bit, to be honest. And across a load of different things in life, like a few things happened over the last couple of years in life that really made me rethink a whole heap of things, to be honest. And especially when you kind of, like I said, work in an industry like ours, it's very loud and there's a lot of different reasons why people do the things they do. And you got to be very clear about what yours are, if that makes any sense. And if I'm honest, I feel like, especially for what I do, it makes you better at your job. You're more direct, you cut out the fat with a lot of conversations, you're very like clear about who, where, why, and your choices are just quicker and you're just more focused. So
what do you do?
What do I do? What, like okay, so
what do you do?
Job title wise, in terms of 9 to 5, I still like broadcast. I'm on One Extra on Monday night. Used to do the breakfast show. I ain't gonna lie, I was knackered.
Fam, I don't even know how I did that. Bro, you know, when I think about that, I don't know how you did that.
Nor do I.
For some people, that don't know, Twin Alec was doing the breakfast show on One Extra. What was your start time? 6:30 in the morning. But you have to be there at 6 minimum. Like you gotta be there at 6. Then you're there till 9:30, innit?
10, and then we'll talk about the show after. Sometimes there'll be an interview that we had to do.
Obviously, so you could be there till about 11:30.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Then boom, straight to Atlantic.
Straight to Atlantic.
And then that, we already know that working in the music industry is not 9 to 5 or 11 till 7 or 12 till 8. That's a lifetime almost thing, bro.
And even brain space, it's very consuming. Like, so even when you're not in the office or you're not doing a job, you're thinking about certain things, or you hear something on the radio in the cab on the way home, and you're like, oh gosh, that mix. I remember who mixed this. I need to apply that same, like, where he approached this to a record I'm working. Like,
Isn't
you're kind of always having to.
Though? Like,
it can be. It can be. It can be. Yeah. Definitely can be, to be honest. But then at the same time, that's the whole thing with the purpose thing. It's like, if you know why you're doing it, and you kind of sometimes dig the roots a bit deeper into why you're doing it and understanding that, then it can be consuming, but there's a kind of like a piece with it, and then you've got to marry that with balance.
Yes.
And that's why, even with regards I was knackered, I was ill.
Yeah.
And it's just like, life is for living. It's not just for kind of being consumed and just like existing. It's like, even if you're doing things you've got a passion for.
Of course. And balance is so important, bro. Like, I think, as friends, we speak about this type of thing all the time, and like, I kind of got to a point in my life where I started to understand that balance is key, because for me, when I wasn't finding my balance, I felt like I was like, my mind was kind of all over the place. Yeah, do you get what I'm saying? And I wasn't able to enjoy. I actually just wasn't able to enjoy life. Yeah. Do you get me?
Yeah.
Like, having balance enables you to actually just enjoy your both elements of your life, innit? Your working life and your personal life.
Yeah, because you're present. Because if you're kind of stretched in one area of your life, then you're not there for the other bits, if that makes any sense. Yeah. If one area of your life takes too much energy away, then there's another part that you're taking away energy from. And that's what was happening in a lot of areas of my life, to be honest. So just felt like I was like, just had to kind of even it up.
But
sorry, what do? You said sorry.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Go.
So like, job title wise,
sorry to interrupt you. I think the reason why I asked this question, because I think on the surface it seems basic, innit? Like, I'm in A&R or whatnot, and we've done interviews. I've done an interview with you with Benny or whatever with Neighborhood, and we've kind of gone into a little bit, but this is a different audience or whatever. But like, I think that maybe even the way that you do your work and the way an A&R is today might even be a little bit different to how it conventionally has been known. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I asked you.
Okay, yeah. I mean, co-head of A&R at Atlantic Records.
Yeah.
I've got a work wife, lady called Bryony. She's sick. She's a G.
Shout out to the work wife.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so A&R, I guess I'll talk about what I think, in my humble opinion, A&R is, and then what my actual job is and what I do practically day to day. I feel like A&R is basically like, when basically, if today or this hand is, and sorry, this is like obviously a podcast, but if this point is some a song not existing, an album not existing, a show not existing, and this point is all of that existing and being loved and liked and being really good, A&R is everything from it not existing to it existing. There's an element of A&R in everything, and it doesn't always come from an A&R.
Yeah.
But in terms of the concept of what A&R is, like, in my humble opinion, I feel like it's a decision to make the song. There's an element of A&R in that. Finding a studio that you make the song in, finding a producer, encouraging an artist in that process to say, you should go and do it because you're really good.
Yeah.
And then at that point, the song existing, how it ends up sounding. Even the journey of the song to the radio has an element of A&R to it.
It's basically literally the technical aspect of and every like element of creating a music, and also not even just the music but an artist, isn't it?
Essentially, yeah. And I always say essentially that it comes from an artist, A&R, but obviously if you are going to do A&R, there's an element of that whole journey that has an element that has A&R to it. So in terms of a job or being an A&R, it's anything that can happen in that process.
Yeah.
From identifying the artist to the end goal of the record existing, to in the middle of that the chorus not sounding right and changing the key so it's more comfortable, or finding the right feature, or scrapping the record altogether and saying it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Or an album track list. Like I was going through that the day before yesterday with Jess Glynn, and going through that whole thing, and that was a wrestle in terms of listening to the whole album and going from the end of a record. Me, her, guy who runs our label gets involved. Bryony, who I do, we work on her together. Sat there for a good couple of hours and listen to the whole record and switch records because, you know, some of the transitions music-wise weren't working as well. And
okay.
some records we felt there were alternatives that were saying the same thing that would work better on the deluxe.
Yeah.
And then like just a whole wrestle. So even that is obviously a huge that's A&R. Being at a show and then hearing that the guitar's too loud and it's drowning out the vocal,
right.
or there's loads of elements to it, or
I'm so glad you're saying.
Yeah, so much to I could go on for ages, but hopefully it's like it not existing to it existing, everything in between, and hopefully that explains why you've got to be good at. You can't just turn up and say, because like some people.
But I think that's like, I feel like that is almost what the perception is to some people that like look at the music business today.
You know why though? Sorry to interrupt, and I clocked this recently. Because you know what, we all do A&R on a Saturday night in front of X Factor. Yeah, because A&R is one of the biggest parts of A&R is an opinion. So everyone can say, "Oh, that girl's singing out of key." Yeah. Or that beat doesn't suit what she does, or I think she sounds better on a slower song, or that is A&R. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But that's also an opinion, and obviously everyone is allowed to have an opinion. But in terms of the professional element of it, it's about adding to that process, and adding value, adding experience, adding a professional opinion and an understanding, not just an opinion. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah,
but I think that from some people's angle now, when they look at it, is that they feel, this is why I thought it was really good that you broke it down like that, because my angle was more being the fact that I think some people now see or feel that the music industry has literally become a numbers game, in a sense of now, instead of a few of the things that you mentioned before involves instinct, innit? Like you thinking in your mind, do you know what, I think this could work, the guitars sound a bit too loud in this, or might be a bit too low or whatnot. Whereas it seems like now it's kind of a thing of, well, you know what, boom, the YouTube numbers look alright, they're still, that's growing on this, boom, if I sign it, the streaming numbers could do that. And the instinct element of it has almost gone. Yeah. Correct or no?
Yes and no, because obviously, like,
it depends on the human being.
Yeah, and I guess from a kind of like, and this is obviously what some of what A&R does in terms of profession. Obviously, I guess a lot of it in terms of profile and in terms of who people know in like A&R wise are people at labels who have a job, who approach acts who are popular and say, we really want to sign you or work with you or release your record, essentially, which is what you're talking about, which is what happens. And that is definitely a skill, because there's an element of doing that early enough to spot something that you know isn't just popular online but can work on radio, has international potential, and has a bigger audience than it has then, and you can add to that, of course. And outside of that, that's marketing, that's like strategy, and there's a skill and importance to all of that. But I hear what you're saying in the sense of like, with the whole instinct thing, and
what percentage wise would you say instinct plays a part in A&R in today? Because I felt like before, prior to like when you looked at some of the big dons that people know of, like Berry Gordy or Clive Davis or all of these old veterans and that, like people would say that they spent decades on instinct, like trying to figure out or working or going on their instincts of this person's a star or this song's a hit or whatever it may be. Like, how much does that play a part in today? Instinct, really? It's
a good question, like, because even with those A&Rs who are obviously legendary and incredible, like, say with Motown, they had a system. It wasn't just about, like, obviously that they weren't the measures of popularity that there are now. Like, anyone can look at something and see it's getting played 1 million times a day. The public are saying they want that. If you then turn around as a company and put it on iTunes and Spotify, and like people are going to buy into it because they've told you they want it, and maybe it wasn't available before. Some of the hits that have come from our world have done that. But like, see with like Motown, and there's a big difference between A&R and pointing at something and saying it's popular, and artist development, and kind of taking something from scratch, and someone who you feel like has a talent, but you feel like, okay, cool, I can marry your voice with some incredible producers and songwriters that I feel can allow you to have a career. That is like really good A&R. That's what the Berry Gordys and the Clive Davises were good at, of kind of having a vision. Sometimes that an artist might not be able to, because of their lack of experience or where they're at in life, have themselves. And then there's what you said, that kind of instinct of, or just pointing at something and saying, that's popular, let's work with that person. It's a business. And there is an element of A&R to that, because you have to be fast, you have to win the deal, and all of that business.
We're going to talk about winning deals and that.
Yeah. But for me, I'm much more excited and lean towards the artist development side of things. Like, because I don't like the competition element of deals and artists. I think that takes something away, if I'm honest. Yeah, I don't like that. I never enter a negotiation with an artist I want to work with
on a competition basis.
Never.
Is it? That's interesting.
Never. To the point where
sometimes aren't you involved in it by default? Though?
By default, because if you're talking to someone who's obviously talented and other people have discovered that talent at the same time, or a bit earlier or a bit later, then obviously there's an element of choice. But for me, it's an element of choice and not competition. I don't like the competition element, because I think that takes away from the art, and there's a certain amount of energy that surrounds it, in that sense, that changes what's important. About what the artist does. It's like they're good at what they do. It's not about who wins this deal. Like, I hate that side of it.
I want to get to that part in a bit though, because I think that's going to be quite key and something that we talk about a little bit later. But so you just mentioned as well, and I think I've mentioned this a few times here, so it's good to speak to you about this as well. The artist development side of things, because it doesn't seem like that exists so much anymore, And there's a pet peeve that I always say here. Like, I have to say it all the time. I don't particularly think it's going to change, but I feel like the live element of a lot of artists right now is sinking, for me personally. And sometimes I don't think that it's some of their fault, because a lot of them are quite young and might not particularly understand how maybe things used to be, and they might not care, because obviously things have changed and they do their thing their own way. But if there's one thing that I say, if I had to tell you one thing that I don't like the artist performing over the song, without the PA and all of that. It really pisses me. Like, there's artists that are like literally doing whole tours with no PA. Like, that's wild to me. But also, there was that whole thing with Rams that came out with him and him performing at the Capitol Ball, whatever. And then that ended up being a big thing. But straight away in my mind, well, not even on a criticizing thing, I wasn't surprised that it had happened, not with him. I knew that at some point this was going to happen with someone, because I feel like there's a lack of artist development, if you know what I mean. I think that like the error that was made there, to anybody that has been in the game for a little bit would know straight away he had a problem. There was an in-ears thing or whatever, and then it turned out that that's exactly what it is. But are we, I say we as in maybe you, management or whatever, or people that are a bit like closer older and wiser and closer to artists, like are we not, if there isn't artist development, should we not be doing a little bit more to kind of speak to them about, you know what, this is how certain things run?
It's funny, man. Like, I feel like the public are to blame in a lot of ways. Like, because, see, with the artist development thing, like, especially in like British black music, see now, the journey between an artist having a hot record and Wembley Stadium can be 3 months.
It's mad.
Like, understand that. Like, that's unreal. That's mad. Like, to be honest. And it's like, it doesn't necessarily even allow the time for an artist to become what they need to be, to have the experience and the resources and the know-how of performing at that level. Like the first artist I had who performed at, like, it's funny because the Rams thing, I had Jess Glynn performing there. Rita, who was 100 grand down in terms of spending, how much she spent on that show. Like,
oh really?
Yeah. Like, to make sure that it was incredible. And that's not even just label money. Like, that's just like how much she wanted to smash the show, how important it was for her. And the rehearsals and the amount of time that went into, even Jess, you can watch it all online, like, is ridiculous. And that's like, these are rehearsals that exist for a few hours before she even gets to the rehearsal room from a band point of view. And the first artist I had perform at the Jingle Bell Ball that I worked with was Wretch.
Okay.
And he was, and it's similar to Rams, because Rams was part of Jax Jones's set. I think he was just a guest on Jax Jones's set. And when we had Wretch perform, he was a guest on Example set, and Unorthodox had just become a smash.
Okay,
and it was huge, and it was just after Tractor. And you have to understand, by the time Wretch had performed at Wembley Stadium, he had 2 mixtapes out. He had an album out before, incredible album as well. And how many times had, like, he probably had performed at I Love Live 10 times before that. Let alone, I remember, like, there was a band show we done in Brick Lane once with Lab's Brother and all of that. This was like 2007, and I hosted it for Wretch, and even them times, like, there was an ambition to be a great live performer. But in that ambition, you're doing things that, but even then, I know now that if we listen to that band then, all of us collectively would have things we heard and be like, that ain't quite right. And so there was a bit of a kind. They would, like, I always call them the shadows that, like, the underground allows you to kind of make your mistakes in.
Yeah.
And I think they're really important, and it's weird because how things are set up now, the underground doesn't really have those shadows anymore because, like, don't get twisted. To earn the right, to have a record as popular as Barking is not easy. To have a hit is something you've got to respect on any level. Like, to have earned the right to perform at that gig, that's not an easy, like, the filter to get to that level and platform is massive. Like, you can't just appear there. You have to have a huge record. So
of course, that
alone is something that's commendable and admirable.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is the journey to get to that point for artists probably post 2-3 years ago had some artist development naturally outside of a record label. And outside of that, you know, and smart managers and the way the scene was set up allowed that to happen naturally. Yeah. And that's gone. I think that's a big part of why some things happen. But to be honest, like, the same thing happened for an act I worked with Western really quickly. Yeah. They ended up at Jingle Bell Ball a couple of years ago after Into.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
I did that with them, actually.
Yeah, bro, the rehearsals we did for that.
Oh, like, no, I didn't do that. I did, I can't remember.
Jingle Bell Ball.
I think it was, actually. Yeah,
because you definitely would remember do Wembley Stadium.
I did Wembley Stadium. I did Wembley Stadium with them. That was, it was must have been Into. What was the Kiss thing that they did? It was a Halloween
Hammersmith.
No, they did Wembley Stadium, but it was like a Halloween thing. I can't remember. It'll come to me in a bit. But go on, I didn't want to stop.
But yeah, the moment that we knew we were doing that,
big thing.
The rehearsal, it was just the one song.
Yeah.
But we rehearsed and went in, and the vocal coaches got involved, and because it's not easy, you don't land and end up being an amazing performer just like
straight away.
Everyone I've worked with, like, have become incredible with some investment of time from other people, be it vocal coaches. Like, some of the artists that you see perform now have had people tell them to be at the right side of the stage in the second half of the last chorus. Yeah. Like, with in-ears, with people screaming, and there's some incredible people I work with. There's Amber and Bronsky, who have made some of our biggest acts look and sound incredible. There's Lorna Clark on the vocal tip. There's something not Lorna Clark. Lorna, I forgot her last name, but there's loads of people who have worked behind the scenes who are available, like, to kind of like better some of the artists. And for me, it's like the moment that those platforms are close, and like I said, it happens really quick. For me, the artists I work with, like, they're there super quick. And I don't know what happened with the Rams thing, so it's not a criticism in the sense of, because human things happen. But like I'm saying, that speed of journey.
He mentioned before that I don't think he had in-ears.
Yeah.
And
but it sounded like there was a latency.
Oh, is there? Or did he have generics though? Because I know that he doesn't have in-ears himself. So I don't know whether they gave him generics. Yeah,
see, loads of the artists I work with have personalised molding in-ears.
You got to get them, man. You got to get them. Like, there's a place called Cosmic, I think, that actually does them.
But you know what though, like, even with all these things being said, it means that we have to be more, and it's difficult with social media and the fact that we're all allowed an opinion and everyone can see them. There is an element of, because of the nature of how things are set up and how quick these artists are progressing to these huge platforms, we've got to be patient, man. The cream will rise to the top, like,
I hear that.
As in over time. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, if I'm a consumer and people were going, but people paid for those tickets and he got paid. He never got paid. You don't get paid for that.
Okay.
Usually you don't like. So I do understand, and I'm not saying that it's like about dipping a certain level of quality, but at the same time, it's like, you can't write people off.
No, of course not.
You can't. Like, time will tell. Like, it's difficult because people are kind of traveling at super speed. But I think you got to find your feet and see what happens. It happened with Western, to be honest. Like, in a sense where it was like the record came out, I was like, one hit, and it's like, whoa, these guys weren't even Western a month before. Then. So I think we've got to be more patient and allow, because trust me, the shadows that all of our favourite artists growing up had to perform. Like, how old is Rams?
Rams is young. I don't know. I don't want to say he's. I would say about 20.
Like Jay-Z's first album, he was 26.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I know, but
and don't get me, I'm not.
Listen,
I'm saying it in a sense of like,
21.
Like
21, okay.
the level of like time that artists have to become what they might become. I'm not saying everyone's going to, because that's the whole nature of survival of the fittest and us, you know, having the best last the longest. The speed at which they emerge, has to allow us as consumers and fans sometimes to just be a touch more patient.
Yeah.
To allow them to become, if they're going to, like,
this is the thing though. Like, I don't know how to articulate this. This is just all stuff that's jumbled in my head, but I'm just going to try to say it here. But we talk about like patience and stuff like that. And then also you've got so many different artists that are coming through, like having a shine or whatever, which is great. Yeah. Like, it's sick, innit? Like, I think that it's good that you've got so much young bucks that are coming through and being able to make money and change their scenarios and surroundings and stuff like that, yeah. But then with things happening, like, you got this person's got this song, this one's got that song, this one's got this one, that one's got this one, this one's got that one, this one's got this one, and then it's like you got all of these one songs scattered around or whatever. It feels like everything now, we're kind of in an industry where everything is kind of rushed now. Do you get? Does that make sense? You know what? Boom! I'll grab this one. We'll rinse this because it's probably not going to last. We'll grab this one. We'll rinse this one because it's probably not going to last. So then, how does things like the live become any better if we are moving in a rushed kind of industry? Do you get me?
It's got to be important. Firstly, it's got to be important to the artist. Like, it's got to be something that they want to be. You've got to want to be a good live performer, because you do, like, you have to understand, even in terms of, like, from my side of things, looking at how deals happen and how artists emerge, there are some artists like who don't care about the art and being excellent as much as they should, if the truth be told. And sometimes I can see that even when there's conversations with artists early and teams, and you're talking to them maybe on a deal tip and whatnot, and there's like more of a lean towards the deal and other parts of being an artist than the art. And it's like, if that's your attitude from the get-go, when you've got rehearsals and it's like 15 hours a day, you might be there for 2. There's someone else that's going to be there for 15.
Yeah, of course.
And whatever team is around the artist, as the label person, whatever you want to say, as the manager, like, I can't make you great. Like, you have to want to be great, firstly. And then there's the want to be great. And then there's the time, energy, brain space, passion, and everything else you need to, like, actually apply yourself to being great. Like, I know it's a weird thing. I remember I did this like mad talk at Notting Hill, and they were asking me about Michael Jackson, and in that moment I thought to myself, you know what, obviously the greatest artist of our generation and all that, and blah 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 blah. And I said, like, if you really wanted to be a good artist those times, you know, like, I remember as a kid watching videos where he used to say, I used to study the James Browns of the world and blah. Like, the guy never had YouTube.
No, I know.
Like, to study that, think of what was required as a kid to study
an
that.
artist.
It was probably half an hour of a 12-inch black and white TV.
Yeah.
Once a
maybe
week.
Maybe a VHS. Was VHS?
No,
VHS
bro, not even VHS.
Touch road them times.
No, like,
mad.
Like once a week for probably 5 minutes. Like, even the ability to remember the moves that you're trying to learn and the dedication that must have been applied to study someone who you saw in a glimpse be good at what they do. Like, that in itself, like, if you're like, take that in, like, we've got the ability now in so many ways to learn so much on our phones.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, sometimes it's like, it's not an accident that the great artists we have are great, and you always, and a lot of times, even with, like, honestly, the people I've been around with from early, the Ed Sheerans, the Stormzys, they say little things that made me realise you've always applied yourself.
Yeah,
bro.
it's different.
It's different, but it's not like, don't get me wrong, a lot of these people are gifted and have things placed in them, I believe.
Of course.
But at the same time, it's like nurturing that gift takes, like, so it's not easy being an artist. Like, it should, and to be honest, it shouldn't be. Like, it's got to be hard, because if you're going to earn the right for half an hour of my time with your music in this climate where I've got so much choice to do other things, please care.
Yeah.
If I'm going to part with money for a ticket and I could be at home watching something else, you need to really, really, really care. Yeah. And if you really care, then you've applied your time to make it excellent.
Yeah.
And that's where it needs to start from. It needs to start from the artist and the team.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not a gift. You know, sometimes people assume, I feel like people assume that, like, artist development and all the things that are provided for artists are a given. It's not. It's not. And it's not supposed to be provided. Like, sometimes people put it on the label, and it's like, essentially, from a big side of that, it's still a business. And it's still a success if it's connected with the public and paid for it. But as the artist, your concern should be being great. Like, and on it, like, that's my concern with all the artists I work with. I want them to be great, and I want them to be the best, because I believe that if they are, then all of that happens anyway.
A lot of your signings, like, from what I've seen, especially over a long period of time, it's always been an element of substance. And there's like a few, I don't know all of the A&Rs, I can't say I'm versed on that, but there are some A&Rs that I see and I look at some of their signings and I think, oh yeah, okay, you're an A&R who signs stuff with like a decent amount of substance, and then you get some that are just kind of more like, I need this, I want that one, whatever. But you got Rita Ora, you got Jess Glynn, you got Weston, you got Kojo Funds. You managed to get Stormzy. Have I missed anyone, by the way, just now?
Like historically or
no,
now?
Right now.
I still work with Wretch.
Oh, you still work with Wretch?
I always work with Wretch.
Oh, okay.
Because he's the best.
Yeah. Wretch is the guy. Wretch is the guy.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else? Have I missed anyone?
There's some new artists developing.
Okay. Oh, so you're developing? Are you actually developing?
Yeah, you have to. 100%.
Okay.
100%.
I genuinely didn't even think that it was a thing that so much existed. So 100%. See the development thing just quickly. Yeah. Is that like a thing of, I like you, I think you're talented, we're gonna invest something into you, but we're doing this on the low, kind of. Yeah. It's not like, oh, hey everyone, I've signed, but they're developing. It's kind of like,
because sometimes some people don't need opinions yet, and if you overexpose it, especially as an artist, I think artists being able to be focused on being as good as they can be sometimes needs no noise. Like, do you know what I mean? So if they're overexposed too early, they're not allowed to, because it's difficult, because I think subconsciously we all take opinions in, and we're probably in the noisiest time ever when it comes to creating art. Like, I think a lot of people like can just jump on their phone and have 10 different opinions on something they've created, and like it's tough to kind of shut that out and be pure about creating art. Like for me,
and also to understand whose opinion matters and who don't.
Yeah, exactly. It's difficult because it's even on Twitter. Some people are so good at Twitter. They're good at Twitter. Yeah. Like, they're really articulate. They know how to use the 140 characters to say something.
Yeah. It's by the way, like, this is how I know you don't use social media. Yeah. It's 240.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I try and anyway, I'm not on it as much. Like, but they're so good at it. So it's like they can articulate a point, and even from the source of that point is probably their own frustration with their own music career, or their own frustration with an artist or an agenda. Like, so it's like, if that opinion then kind of has a part to play in the music or art you're making, it's bad. It's not from a good place. Yeah. So I feel like artist development should happen in the shadows, because it just allows the purity, man, and patience.
How do you leave time for development when you are looking at, because I'm going to go to a specific artist now, yeah? When you know, like, somebody has the potential to be huge, everyone's going for it, it's not particularly ready yet, but you know at a point, you're like, this could be you. You mentioned before that, like, you're not really too keen on the competition thing. I say all of this because you signed Stormzy, which was a massive deal, like a very, very big deal, and I know from the inside that there have been people that have been trying to sign, people have been trying to get that signature for years. I think I first become privy to it when I did the interview with him with GRM. When I was doing that, and then, like, you know, I had conversations with people and whatnot and whatever. Okay, the first thing I really want to ask you is, was you able to see that within all of those things that you mentioned there? Were you able to see that early on with Stormzy, but also knowing that with so much people onto him at that time, how did you approach that situation?
Obviously early enough in connecting with him for there not to be as much noise as there ended up being. So there was a kind of window to get to know each other as people. I feel like, see, the biggest artists on the planet, essentially the most important thing to them is being really, really, really good at what they do. That's the common denominator. And that's one. Two, there's a certain type of ambition that you see. And then three, there's just a talent, an incredible talent that you see as like a special artist, or that is like something that people always want more of, or that when they walk in a room, or when you hear their record, or something just pulls at you musically, or something, a bar, or something just makes you like, and then, like, they also really, really care about their music and their art, like really, really, really obsessively, scarily care. Like, that, in my humble opinion, and in my own tiny bit of experience, I've seen that with like some of the biggest artists from early.
What? Okay,
and he had that.
Give me an example of what made you think that he had that.
I think the fact that the first conversation we had was a 3-hour conversation about music, for instance, and some of he's want to make a great album. This is like early on. He really wanted to make a great album, and he obsessed and overstood what some of the great albums and great artists that we love had, and what he wanted to emulate in them. And just that level of ambition was like, well, okay, because he was still the MC, but it's like the want to be a great artist, the desire to be a great artist, I thought was like it was seeping out of him, man. He wanted to be a great artist. And I feel like the greats have that. They have a bit of a purpose. Like they know that like I'm supposed to be really good at this. Yeah. But some then ask the question or investigate very quickly or do their very best to find out, how do I do that? And he was very much about that. Like, and I think like in terms of how the first time I saw him, I think it was Skepta tweeted a YouTube link time ago, years ago now. And I remember I stayed up for literally a few hours just watching every freestyle he was doing, thinking there's something a bit incredible about this kid. Like just captivating. And
clarity is something, like I'm big on clarity. I think that's one of the things that I really like about Skepta, innit? Skepta's got immense clarity. And Stormzy's had that from young, bro. His clarity, like even in them early YouTube videos and that, it's very different. It's a very different thing that, like, I think there's like a certain level of clarity that you can get when you're like early on in your career that you just can't, you can't be taught that. You just have it.
100%. And he had it in that sense, alongside loads of other things. And even like some of the things that he wanted to say with his music, I found really admirable. And some of the things that he wanted his music to do. And sometimes, there's that thing you can't really articulate that someone has.
You're right.
Like you can't really like, and not to be cringe, but there's some things you can't put into words. But and he just had it. Like and he was, and I think like there are a lot of artists that I know quite well and that I've worked with that. And I loved what he loved about what they were good at. Like it's so he very quickly paid attention to, like, say Wretch, for instance, and how much love and passion and care he puts into his bodies of work. And I respected that, because at the point in which I was meeting him, he was still the freestyle MC. And I was like, right, okay, if you understand and know that, sometimes you've got to know certain things to be able to apply them to yourself. And the fact that it was so important to him to look at things a certain way, I really respected and admired. So early on in his career, like I thought, wow, that's really admirable. I just felt like it was very obvious very quickly that this was a very, not just he's the sickest new MC that's come through in years. There's no doubt about it, like in every sense of the word. Like, but there was also something that was like, he's gonna be a great artist. This MC is a great artist. Like the great artist in the sense of he has the same conversations and approach of music. Of course. Like he's peers now. Like when I mean his peers, I'm talking Adele's and Chris Martin's, and like there's something that he wants his music to do that great artists want it to do. And there's loads of people in our world that are the same. I think Wretch is in that space. I think culturally we've had so many artists that have been that, like, have come through, like from, I say Wretch, Kano's gigs as in his language and what he represents. There's loads, but
I definitely saw him as a career artist, as someone with a lot of substance. Like I think after the Dreamer's Disease EP, I just knew, this is somebody he's like, if he plays the game right, then he's going to be around for a long time still. Like go through that stage where, you know, like you have loads of people that come and go. But he's going to still be in that.
100.
But how, like, because I know how much this signature was in demand, like before the album and all of that. I know that being independent to him was very important, and I think around that time as well, there was this whole thing about like fuck record labels and that. Like, enough people was kind of on this, fuck record labels, we don't need record labels and blah 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 blah. Especially with some people doing so well. You get me? Do you think, like, by the way, I have to bear in mind that, like, even though that was a thing that was happening, I have to admit, he wasn't somebody that I heard always regurgitating that. I never really heard him say, "Oh, fuck the record label." I heard him pro independent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so he should have been, because what he was achieving as an independent artist was
incredible.
Like ridiculous. Ridiculous. But like, do you feel, for you at the time when you was pursuing it, did you feel like maybe he actually might stick with that route because it is working for him?
Yeah.
And if so, how did you manage to explain to him?
Yeah. He's got
why you feel like it would have been a good idea for him to sign a record.
Along the way, he got a very incredible, smart manager. Big up Toby, lawyer Kieran. The team grew, and all people that I knew very well, and kind of they grew naturally in the sense of like, obviously he exploded, and very quickly his team needed to grow, and he needed to be able to facilitate all the things he wanted to do very quickly. So. Yes, obviously there was like the ability to deliver what he wanted to do, but he's incredibly ambitious. And for me, in terms of like, I think I said it earlier, there was never a chase of the signature. It wasn't that. It's like,
okay,
honestly, if you end up working with an artist closely, it's quite like a intimate work relationship, in the sense of like there has to be an element of trust. You have to like each other firstly, and there has to be an element of I think an ability to get on, and then help, and actually like, and I think he understood quickly that I wasn't just like just a fan,
leech.
just a leech, or not even leech, but it's just like, I'm always a fan, of everyone I work with, but I feel like I think he understood that I believed he was a great artist. So anything that I suggested, or anything that kind of we ended up working together from the beginning, if the truth be told. Just on a friendship tip, we ended up as bros very quickly. So we were always conversating about what could be done better, or what was needed. So it was a very it became a working relationship pretty quickly, just naturally anyway. And it was funny because it would be off the back of opinions on music, essentially, and then what was needed. And, you know, like, making an album is not easy. It's really, really hard. And especially if it's an incredible album. I'm telling you, every incredible album that you've ever listened to, the artist left a piece of them in that album, to the point where I've interacted with artists after album, and they've lost a bit of themselves. They're knackered. They're like drained. And it's a very draining, demanding process. And he was going through that process for the first time, with all of the pressure of being who he was very quickly, with fame, with life, being from South, and everything else. So I just felt like I knew he was going to make an incredible album, and any part that I could have played in it just excited me, if I'm honest, because I knew it was going to be sick.
Sorry to interrupt you. I was like low-key worried that anxiety might have prevented him from making a good album for a moment. And the reason why I say that is because I can't fathom what that must be like to have that amount of pressure to deliver. Do you get what I'm saying? Because everyone's saying, oh, you're the chosen one, you're this, you're that, you know what I mean, it's so great. All of the TV stations are talking about him, radio stations, everything. People want the signature and all of that. But while people are trying to sign him and everyone wants a piece of him, he still has to deliver an album. But you know what's really like, and the great artists have it, the most important thing for him was making a great album. All of the noise didn't matter. Like, being as successful and as very quickly, you know, exciting and all of that as he was, you're going to make money. Like, you'll be cool. Like, all of that is cool. But for him, I think loads of that came from the fact that he so wanted to make... Like, I'm more excited, like, the signature and all of that. The deal... Like, for me, if an artist, is... Or if there's a focus on the deal, you're focusing on the wrong things. Like, for him, and even watching how he went through that process, he's got a brilliant lawyer, he's got an amazing manager, it was always going to be a good deal, and he's happy, cool, whatever. Like, I know that we were at the Ivan Novellos last week, and being credited as the album of the year by songwriters and people and your peers and some of the greatest songwriters of your generation in the room standing up and clapping and saying you deserved it, meant more to him than anything else.
And in a weird way, like, that's what the focus always was for him, and that's what was our working relationship. I believe it wasn't the signature. It wasn't like that. That can happen. It's cool. Like, you'll be fine. Like, you'll find a way to distribute and work you out. All of that is cool. But I think that might have been a big part of why we've been able to kind of intertwine professionally. Yeah, like, so in terms of the deal and that happening, it's like, yeah, it happened, cool.
Yeah.
But after a while, what was Little Kim or the album you talked about earlier? Does the deal play a part in, like, people?
No.
And I think because of the kind of climate we're in and the ability,
people,
yeah, but it shouldn't. Like, as in, it's like the earliest part of what should happen with a great artist. There's too much focus on it. It doesn't matter. Like, there's so much emphasis on it now, and it's actually annoying because I know a lot of artists sitting at home now who would give back their deals to have better careers.
Of course.
And to be able to not make better music, because that's like an opinion thing, but to be able to have a certain maybe artist freedom or do what they love doing. Like, the deal has too much focus. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, there was never I wasn't following the guy around with a pen. Like, do you know what I mean? It wasn't that. It was like, you're a great artist. I love working with great artists. We ended up working together.
Of course.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like a blessing and lucky that that's the case. But it was never a chase for the deal. And I think because, honestly, even knowing it, like, it's not a big focus. It was never a big focus for him. He wants to make great music. He wants to have the biggest shows. And I'm not saying it wasn't handled. Like, his deal was like, he's the biggest. He was the biggest unsigned artist probably in the world at the time. Him and Chance. So the deals, whatever, all good. Probably.
The deals. Yeah, can we talk about that, or what could you tell me about the deal? Is there anything that you can tell me about the deal? What type of deal is it?
I mean, in terms of the deal, I don't really want to, like, it's their deal to talk about.
Of course,
do you know what I mean? I don't want to expose the people's business, but it was an incredible deal.
Yeah,
I can tell you that. Hashtag Murky, like, I've obviously done an incredible job.
Yeah.
So I think, to be fair, I think Storm's talked about it on some of his socials. It's a label deal.
Yeah.
So it's like a partnership. Yeah, that reflects the amazing work that they've done. So, I mean, Toby, the manager, Kieran, the lawyer, and Storms himself, yeah, they negotiated a great deal.
Was it a persuading thing of, like, making him or getting him to sign a record deal? Because the thing is that I understand that you're working together or whatever, you're dealing with someone who's got, like, good expertise and whatnot. Yeah. But when things are going so good independent, like, why sign a deal? I
think this is where people probably need to understand what a good record label relationship can bring, I think. And it's outside of Storms. I think just in general, a lot of people have a perception of what a deal and the whole independent versus label thing. Like, if you've got ambition and you want to achieve something, it's like, if you want to get to another country, you need to get on a boat. You need to get on a plane. Like, if you have ambitions and there are things that you want to do, resources wise, you might need more. Expertise wise, you might need more. And I think it's understanding that. And then you kind of understand what a good label relationship brings. Like, I can statistically say, like, our label, Atlantic, is the best label in the country. I can statistically say that. Like, no, genuinely, I can say that.
Well, you can back that up with facts and all of that.
Well, last week we had, like, number 1, 2, and 3 in the chart.
Oh yeah,
which I've never
congratulations
seen
on Jess Green, by the way.
Yeah, she's incredible. Like, so, but like, so I can, and I say that in a sense where I can, like, sit here and speak on what a good label does in terms of providing a service, if that's what you want to achieve. And that, like, and I've got artists who I work with who don't want hits. So I'm not saying that that's always a measure of success. Some artists just want a certain type of critical acclaim. Some artists just want to be able to reach an audience or some artists just want the ability to help make better music. And in that, like, there's a conversation that should occur really early in that. What do you want? This is what we bring. Boom. Like, but from a successful label point of view, I can genuinely say, like, there's product managers, there's people I bring into meetings, like, into teams. Like, there's a girl called Jackie who's an incredible marketeer. She's young. Yeah. She's really good. I can bring her into a conversation with a young artist when a question comes up about a marketing strategy. Okay. Or being able to do a poster campaign, or how you attack radio ads. Yeah. There's, like, an incredible guy called Nick Long who's brilliant at digital and totally understands streaming strategy. There are people who are brilliant at delivering campaigns in other countries and territories within a 2-month period. Some people might want to do that. There are a lot of artists whose music travels very quickly. If you are going to travel to France, Italy, Australia really quickly, to have a network of a team label-wise that allows you to be supported in that territory when you're there doing press, and you understand, don't do that, this is more effective. If you've got 2 hours, these are the best, this is the best way to spend your time in the market to expose your music.
Yeah.
Like, that level of expertise adds value, and if you've got that ambition to have impact in those territories, there are labels and people who are really good at that and can provide that understanding. Like, I can bring people who are really good at that into a meeting if an artist says they want that.
For real.
And that is a big part of the deal conversation process. Like,
yeah.
As in, like, I follow a certain smell. Like, I just like to work with incredible artists. I'm blessed and privileged that that's my job. If I then have the ability to speak to them early on and there's a way in which we work together, I try and understand their ambition. I know what I do. And even going back to what you do in terms of, like, adding the A&R thing, like, it's not just a job. Like, there's so many nuances to doing it well and understanding what's required from that 0 point to a great album. And luckily enough, even just as a student from great artists that I've worked with and incredible A&Rs that I've learnt and worked with, there's a guy called Mac Chalk who's incredible, who I work with really closely. Bryony, who I run A&R with at Atlantic, is incredible. Ben Cook, Max Lusard, and these are people who, like, one of the first people I met, and there was an artist that I was working with, this is an example, who I really wanted to work with. We ended up working with him, one of the artists I've got in development. And the guy who runs the label in America was over. And he's a guy called calum. And I was speaking to him, and I had talked to this artist about a lot of what had happened with the Jess Glynn process, because he's a vocalist as well, and we talked about early on her not having a profile, and that wasn't important to us. She just had an incredible voice, and we just felt like if we nurtured that and presented the right opportunities for her voice to be heard, she would hopefully have a career.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully. And we talked through the process of that, and then I called him in, this guy Craig Calman, who's a G, and he was like, I've been working at this for a long time, and I remember when I worked with Aaliyah, and there were these two producers who had just met, and one was staying on this producer's couch in Virginia, and they just needed an opportunity, and they had a sound and a style that was so fresh, but they weren't working with female vocalists at the time. So I gave Timbaland and Missy this ability to work with this female vocalist. I was like, wow. Mad. You know what? Like, and that's the funny thing with A&R, like, and that ability for someone to have a vision that they add to that, like, there's a skill set in relationships and understanding of how to do that well that can really add. So if you're an artist or someone in that space, it has value if that's what you want at that time in your career. So at that point, when you're having that conversation in the deal process, it's not like, we're offering you this money, or like, we're better than that label. It's like, do you get what I mean? It's a much more nuanced conversation than that if the artist is in a certain space.
Of course.
You know?
Do you face a different type of... You can let them come in, by the way. If you want, you can let them come in on what? What have they done to? Do you face, like, a different type of, like, obstacle, though, with for the first time with someone like Stormzy? Because I'm sure that this must be the first time that you're dealing with somebody who everyone rooted for, not only because they were good at what they did, but also because it was, you're independent, you're doing stuff yourself. So it's like people kind of root for the person who's like, but now, I know. Do you get me?
I do. I totally understand. But that's where, like, again, people need to understand why people listen to music. Like, if you make great music, and I say this with the artists I work with all the time, it's like, if you make great music, people like your music because it's great music. Do you get what I'm saying? And it's like, I think that people...
Does that still exist today?
It does, because you know what?
Sometimes I lose faith in that.
But no, it does, man. There's a certain level of exposure you can get from pushing triggers and like certain... but now, especially the way it's set up, like, the public are much more exposed earlier on to music, and the relationship with kind of how labels used to manipulate TV and all this. Like, there used to be one or two TV. You remember we were kids and CD UK was on. Bro, if you weren't getting on everything on CD UK, probably was a top 10, just purely off the back of the fact that there was such a seismic audience. That even if the song wasn't very good, it was going to be a hit because it just had mass exposure. And then that kid was walking past Woolworths that day and he heard it half an hour before. So bought it, and there were probably about 10,000 people that did that on a Saturday, and then the chart triggered that, and then you got more radio, and it was very easy to kind of manipulate. It's not like that anymore. It's not as easy to do that. I genuinely feel like if you're successful and you're selling albums, especially, continually having a career, and people are buying tickets for your shows, I genuinely believe it's because it's good. Social media's warped everything. Opinions has made people think that some things are more important than they are. Like, in 10 years' time, I genuinely believe that people will listen to G-Side, like what's happened with Boy in the Corner, and understand how incredible it is that this kid who had never made an album weaved road music with a gospel song, like, and made it coherent. Like, that is good regardless of whether he's independent or not. Like, and a relationship with an album and a body of work and a song, the filter doesn't, like, social media and people's opinions has made people feel like the filter of people consuming music has become, ooh, how did it get here? Are they independent? Ooh, and then I'll decide if I like it.
Yeah.
That's not the case.
That's bollocks as well.
That's rubbish. If I like a song, I like a song.
Exactly.
And I feel like people need to delete that fear because it makes people make the wrong decisions in certain ways as well. But that doesn't exist. But everyone on social media and opinions has made people feel like it does. And sometimes you talk to artists or people who work with artists and you see that, like, and don't get me wrong, sometimes you do have to be strategic to be heard. And that's where expertise and all that comes in. But my thing is, like, and my job is to try and keep that as pure as possible from the artist's point of view until they can just go off and be great.